Okay, what if I told you that pretty much everything you've learned about work, about success, and especially about retirement is wrong? Seriously. What if the goal isn't to grind it out for 40 years just to enjoy the leftovers? What if you could build a life of freedom? And yeah, even luxury, starting right now. This quote from Oscar Wilde, it just perfectly nails the spirit of what we're talking about today. It suggests that the rules we live by, the 9 to 5, the saving for someday, they aren't laws of physics. They're just a failure of imagination. This isn't about being reckless, not at all. It's about totally rewriting what you think is possible. Hey everyone, and a huge welcome to Book Talk Finance. This is where we break down books that don't just give you financial tips, they give you a blueprint for a totally different kind of life. And believe me, today's book is an absolute game changer. We're diving into The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky theory. Ferriss himself was completely trapped, working 80-hour weeks, making good money, sure, but he was miserable. So this book, it's basically his personal escape plan, a super practical guide to engineering a life of actual freedom. So let's start with the big problem that Ferriss is trying to solve here. He calls it the deferred life trap, and it's a game that millions, maybe billions of us are playing, without even realizing the rules are totally rigged against us. The deferred life plan. You know the script, right? Go to college, land a safe job, work yourself to the bone for decades, save every penny, and then, maybe if you're lucky, you get to enjoy life when you're 65. Ferriss just calls this out for what it is, a terrible deal. It really boils down to two completely different mindsets. You've got the deferrers over here, trading all of their best years for a reward that might never even show up. And then you have what Ferriss calls the new rich. For them, time and mobility, that's the real wealth. And they use it to build an incredible life right now. The big takeaway isn't about having millions in the bank, it's about having the freedom to live like a millionaire. So how do you actually do this? How do you join the new rich? Well, Ferriss gives us this awesome 4-step framework called DEAL. And the very first step, D, is for definition. It's all about changing your reality by first changing your rules. It all starts with this brilliant concept he calls lifestyle design. And no, it's not just wishful thinking. He treats it like a science. The entire goal is to design a life where your income is completely separate from the hours you put in. That's what gives you the freedom to do what you want when you want to do it. So let me ask you a question that really gets to the heart of this. Who is actually richer? Is it the high-powered lawyer making $500,000 a year but working these brutal 80-hour weeks? Or is it you making a solid $50,000 a year but only working 4 hours a week? The new rich get it. It's the relative income, your cash per hour, that's the real measure of wealth, not just some big number on a paycheck. But you know, making this kind of change isn't just about the numbers. It's about facing our own fears. We are absolute masters at fooling ourselves, at finding reasons to stay stuck, choosing a familiar unhappiness over an unknown future. And the first step to freedom is to just stop lying to ourselves. And this is where he gives us a super powerful tool called fear setting. Instead of just feeling this vague anxiety, you get specific. You write down the absolute worst case scenario. Then you realize, hey, I could prevent that, or, I could fix that. And then you weigh that against the huge, enormous cost of doing nothing. All of a sudden, that fear just shrinks, and the path forward looks a whole lot clearer. Okay, so once you've defined your new reality, the next letter in DEAL is E for elimination. Now, this is going to sound totally backward, but the key to getting more done isn't to do more, it's to do less. It's about being strategically lazy, focusing only on the things that truly move the needle. Elimination runs on two really powerful ideas. First, the 80-20 principle, the idea that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your actions. So you find that 20% and you ruthlessly ignore the rest. Second is Parkinson's law, which says that work will always expand to fill the time you give it. Think about it. If your boss gives you a week for a project, it takes a week. But if you only give yourself 2 hours, you'll get the critical stuff done guaranteed. And this all leads to one of the most famous tools in the whole book, the not-to-do list. What you choose not to do is just as important as what you do. Stop answering random phone calls. Stop checking email 24/7. Stop saying yes to pointless meetings. Every single no you say is actually a yes to your real life. Now, once you've eliminated all that noise, it's time for A, automation. This is the magic step. This is where you build systems that make you money without you having to be there, finally breaking the link between your time and your income.
The dream here is to build what Ferriss calls a muse. This is not about starting the next Google. It's about creating a small, super efficient, automated business, usually selling something like an ebook or a course that generates cash flow pretty much on autopilot.
And it's not magic. There's a clear 4-step recipe. The key part is that you don't just guess. You find a niche you already understand. You test your product idea with a few cheap online ads before you ever build it, and only then do you set up the hands-off system to sell and deliver it. And all of that brings us to the final, and let's be honest, the most exciting step in deal, L for liberation. Once your time is free and your income is automated, you can finally cut the cord that ties you down to one spot on the map. Liberation isn't about taking more vacations. It's about taking mini retirements. Instead of those frantic one-week trips where you try to cram in a year's worth of fun, you actually relocate. You move to a place you've always dreamed of for a few months at a time, to really live there, to explore, and to soak it all in. And this is where the math gets absolutely wild. When you can live and work from anywhere, the value of your money literally multiplies. That $50,000 automated income could give you the lifestyle of someone making $250,000 back in New York or London. That's the incredible power of what's called geo-arbitrage. The book tells this great little parable about an investment banker who sees a fisherman in Mexico. The banker tells him, hey, if you just work harder, buy more boats, you could build a huge company and make millions. So that one day he could retire to a small coastal village and enjoy his life. The fisherman just smiles and says he's already doing that. It just perfectly sums up the whole philosophy. So we've walked through the whole deal framework: definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. But look, the point of this book, the point of this talk, isn't just to learn some cool new ideas. It's to actually challenge you to think differently about your own life. So let's end with the one question from the book that starts it all. I want you to really think about this. Forget your limitations. Forget what people would say. Forget all the reasons why not. What would you do if you absolutely knew you could not fail? What does that life look like? Because that life, that's the one that's waiting for you to go out and design it. If today's book talk sparks something in you, if that little question got the wheels turning, that's the whole point. Answering it is step one. To explore more books that smash the status quo and hand you a blueprint for a better life, make sure you subscribe to Book Talk Finance. We'll see you in the next explainer.